Have you ever imagined a secret powerful enough to change the fate of an entire galaxy? A blind alien girl, a human engineer, and a force beyond imagination. This is where the story begins. Eden Cross rescues the blind A-ray girl, and together they uncover dangerous secrets that the Empire wants hidden. If you want to follow their journey, make sure to subscribe to the channel and share this video with your friends. The twin moons of Nira 7 cast pale, restless light across the jagged landscape, painting the cliffs and ruins in silver and shadow. Dust storms swept through the abandoned industrial plains with a sound like whispers from the dead, carrying with them the faint metallic hum of broken orbital satellites clinging desperately to orbit. Humanity's presence in this sector was rare, almost mythic, and those who dared walk these lands were usually scavengers or engineers, too stubborn to follow the Empire as quiet demands. Eden Cross was both. He approached a derelict cargo station at the edge of a canyon, its skeletal metal framework groaning with every gust, walls scarred with rust, and the remnants of abandoned technology. He came here for one simple purpose: salvage what he could, repair what was worth saving, leave before the Empire noticed him. That was the plan until he heard it. A soft sound, faint and desperate, like a heartbeat trapped in a canyon. It called to him, whispering fear and endurance. Following the sound, he navigated through collapsed corridors and shattered walkways until he found her. Lyra. She was young by A-ray standards, her skin a soft, twilight blue-gray, patterned with thin, bioluminescent lines that pulsed faintly with her heartbeat, intricate and mesmerizing, like starlight caught in veins. Her eyes were wide and open, but they reflected nothing. Blind. Completely. The Empire had long since decided that the blind were useless, unworthy, forgotten. Her clan had left her behind. The city registry had marked her dead in their records. And yet, here she was, surviving in the shadows, unbowed but fragile. Eden knelt beside her, feeling the weight of her isolation. "I'm not here to hurt you," he said quietly, his voice calm in the stillness. She tilted her head, suspicion and caution sharp in her voice. "Then why are you here?" Eden didn't answer immediately. Humans were not accustomed to silence in such moments, but he let the weight of his intentions hang between them. "Because no one else stayed," he said finally. "And I don't leave." Lyra studied him carefully. Trust came slowly to someone abandoned all their life. Eden pulled out tools from his pack, salvaged optics, wires, circuit boards, and half-built devices he had carried from one system to another, relics of a human ingenuity no Empire could suppress. On the table lay a prototype visor, initially designed for wounded human soldiers to bypass damaged vision, now retrofitted for alien neural systems. He had no way to know if it would work, or if it might harm her beyond repair, but humans survived by daring, by refusing to accept the universe's limits. Hours passed. Sparks flew, circuits hummed, data lines connected across species barriers no one was supposed to cross. Eden's hands shook at times, but he did not stop. Lyra watched, her breathing even, her head turning slightly, as if sensing the flow of his work more than its sound. For the first time in weeks, she had someone who believed she could see the world again. When he finally placed the visor over her eyes, the faint patterns along her skin flared brighter than he expected, pulsing in rhythm with her rapid heartbeat. She gasped, fingers clutching at the straps. I can see shadows, shapes, light, movement." It was crude, not images as most would understand, but sensation, awareness, perception of presence. Eden's chest tightened as relief and pride surged, mingled with fear that their brief sanctuary would not last. And he was right. Above the cargo station, 5 silhouettes appeared against the cold light of the moons. Rin, Kale, Jorah, Veth, and Syra. Operatives of the Shadow Vanguard, elite hunters of the Empire, descended with surgical precision. Their mission, locate Eden Cross, retrieve the awakened A-ray, eliminate interference. Silent, efficient, ruthless. Their suits were black, reflective, almost alien in their precision. Faces obscured by visors that registered heat, motion, neural activity. Eden felt the pull of the hunt before they even touched the ground, a cold awareness of imminent danger that set his nerves alight. Lyra's hand gripped his arm, faint tremors of fear, yet a spark of recognition that they were not alone in the fight. Eden acted quickly, pulling Lyra into shadowed maintenance corridors, the hum of old machinery masking their movements. He whispered instructions, taught her to move with him, not behind, not ahead, but alongside. She felt through the visor the shift of air, the pulse of electronic devices, the subtle intent of the enemy before they moved. Together, human instinct and alien perception formed a fragile but powerful unity. Every corner, every walkway, every shadow became part of their defense. Traps were improvised overloaded circuits, magnetic pulses, collapsing walkways, all slowing but not stopping the shadow vanguard. The first confrontation came in a narrow shaft, 5 operatives advancing silently, weapons raised. Eden fired a crude but effective pulse blaster, hitting one, forcing a stumble. Lyra, guided by instinct and the visor, directed interference waves at disrupted targeting systems, scrambling neural feedback. The operatives hesitated. Humans were fragile. A-ray were suppressed. But together, Eden and Lyra created chaos and precision in equal measure, forcing the elite squad to withdraw temporarily. Breathless, pressed against rusted metal, Lyra whispered, "They'll come back." Stronger, Eden tightened his grip on her shoulder. "Then we'll be ready," he said, a quiet resolve threading through his voice. The station seemed to groan under the weight of approaching storm, but Eden felt something else, a spark, fragile yet undeniable. Together, human and A-ray, they had crossed a line no empire had anticipated. Freedom had a price, and the hunt had only just begun. Near Seven's shadows seemed to lean closer, whispering secrets of the universe to those who dared to see beyond fear. And Eden realized, for the first time, that saving a life might mean challenging the galaxy itself. The shadows of Near 7 clung to Eden and Lyra like living things as they fled the derelict cargo station. The wind carried the faint metallic hum of the Shadow Vanguard's advanced tracking drones, probing the ruins for any sign of movement. Lyra's new perception, amplified by the prototype visor, allowed her to feel more than the physical world. She sensed air displacement, subtle electromagnetic signals, and the faint heartbeat of 5 highly trained operatives moving through the night. Her pulse quickened, but she did not panic. Fear, she realized, could be weaponized if controlled, and she was learning fast. Eden guided her through narrow, crumbling walkways, over broken catwalks, and past debris that would have trapped a lesser pair. Every step, every breath, became a silent dance of survival. Eden had always relied on human ingenuity, improvisation, and stubborn resolve, but Lyra brought something new: intuition beyond measurement, an almost psychic awareness of the environment that no sensor could capture. Together, they became more than fugitive and ward. They were a team. Shadows became allies, debris became cover, and the empty corridors of the ruined station turned into a labyrinth they navigated with eerie precision. Occasionally, Lyra would murmur, "I feel them close." Left flank, and Eden would adjust course with no visual confirmation, trusting her instincts. It was a collaboration that transcended species and experience, a fusion of human grit and A-ray perception. Their first real confrontation occurred in the lower maintenance sector, a tangled network of rusted support beams and exposed conduit lines. Rin led the vanguard, moving with the silent grace of a predator, Kale covering the rear with lethal precision. Jorah, Veth, and Syra coordinated drones and scanning equipment, each action anticipating the fugitives' responses. Eden and Lyra had no heavy weapons, only improvised blasters, wires, and their wits. But Lyra's psychic perception allowed them to disrupt targeting sequences before the Vanguard could acquire a lock. Sparks erupted as Eden tripped a panel, sending an electromagnetic pulse through the corridor, momentarily blacking out Rin's visor display. Lyra's hands glowed faintly as she amplified her neural resonance, causing nearby drones to malfunction. The Vanguard faltered, recalibrating, and Eden seized the moment to pull Lyra through a narrow maintenance crawl. As they moved, tension coiled between them. Not just fear, but something unspoken, fragile, and immediate. Their eyes met for brief moments, understanding passing faster than words. Lyra's voice, low and trembling, said, "I never thought anyone would fight for me like this." Eden didn't answer immediately, his attention on the echo of footsteps behind him, the creak of a far-off support beam. "Finally," he murmured, "because someone has to. And it's not just me. You're not alone anymore." The words were simple, but they carried a weight that neither the vacuum of space nor the Empire's oppression could erase. Hours passed in a blur of movement, hiding, and improvisation. They learned to anticipate the Vanguard's tactics. Eden rigged collapsing walkways, improvised magnetic traps, and hacked security panels to create temporary cover. Lyra, guided by her newfound awareness, directed him precisely, predicting enemy movements almost instinctively. Together, they turned the ruined corridors into an ever-shifting fortress. Every sound, every flicker of light, every vibration in the metal became a signal they read in perfect synchronization. For the first time, Eden felt a deep respect, not just for her abilities, but for her courage under pressure. And Lyra felt something she had not felt in her life: trust and the strange, thrilling hint of partnership that extended beyond survival. As night fell over the canyon, the Vanguard regrouped, relentless. They adapted quickly, shifting tactics, deploying more drones, using the environment to flush the fugitives out. Rin and Kale moved as a unit, lethal and precise. Jorah manipulated electromagnetic pulses to scramble electronics, and Veth and Sarah coordinated cutting-edge scanning drones, each programmed to anticipate human and ARA movement patterns. Eden knew they couldn't outrun them forever. They needed a plan, something audacious. And he had an idea. He led Lyra to the upper catwalks of the station, a network of rusted beams suspended over the canyon floor. Lyra's visor allowed her to see the faint outlines of the Vanguard below. Together, they rigged a series of magnetic charges along the beams, timed to create controlled collapses. When the Vanguard descended to flush them out, the structure shuddered and fell in sections. Drones smashed, visors scrambled, and the operatives were forced to retreat temporarily. The air rang with the sound of metal crashing, and for a moment, Eden allowed himself a breath, knowing they had survived, but only barely. They found a temporary refuge in an abandoned control hub, a small room with collapsed walls and flickering lights. Lyra sank to the floor, exhausted, the visor still humming faintly across her temples. Eden crouched beside her, cleaning a minor scorch on her arm. "We've bought some time," he said, trying to sound reassuring, though his body ached with exertion. Lyra looked up, her glowing eyes meeting his. "They'll come back. They always do." He nodded, a grim smile touching his lips. "Then we'll be ready. Together." That unspoken promise, forged in fear and blood, hung in the air between them. In the silence of the station, broken only by distant echoes of shifting metal and a hum of drones still active in the canyon, Eden realized the truth. Survival wasn't enough. The Empire would hunt them relentlessly. The Shadow Vanguard would not give up, and the universe itself seemed indifferent to their struggle. But together, human ingenuity and ARA perception had created something neither expected, not just a partnership, but the spark of rebellion, the beginning of hope. And Lyra, feeling his presence beside her, sensed it too, something larger than fear, something that promised that no matter the odds, they would face the coming storm together. The ruins of Nera 7 stretched like jagged teeth beneath the twin moons, as Eden and Lyra ascended a narrow path leading deep into the desert-as heart. The shadows of the canyon seemed alive, whispering secrets of civilizations that had risen and fallen long before humans or ARA had mapped the stars. Here, hidden beneath centuries of sand and metal, lay the sanctuary of the ancients, a place spoken of only in fragments of ARA oral tradition, a shrine older than empires, where the rituals of perception and psychic awakening had once been practiced. Lyra moved ahead, cautious but certain, her newly awakened senses guiding her through the collapsed corridors and buried chambers. Eden followed, carrying the visor and the tools he had salvaged, knowing that what awaited them here would change everything. The sanctuary was a cathedral of shadows and light, with high vaulted ceilings carved from crystalline rock that pulsed faintly with energy. Symbols older than language etched the walls, glowing with a soft inner fire. Ancient conduits ran along the floors, channels for psychic energy that no human had yet tapped. Lyra's bioluminescent lines flared in response, her heartbeat echoing in the silent halls as if the place itself recognized her. Eden was struck by the scale and beauty of it, the harmony of technology and ritual, the architecture designed to channel thought and energy, not bullets and steel. Here, survival mattered less than understanding. Lyra led him to the central chamber, a vast circular space where the floor was etched with concentric glyphs, each line vibrating with latent energy. She turned to him, eyes glowing softly. "This is where they taught the ARA to see beyond the veil," she said, her voice hushed with awe. "If we can perform the ritual, I can stabilize my abilities fully, but it's dangerous. Humans rarely survive the psychic resonance." Eden nodded, determination solidifying. "Then we survived together." He had already learned that trust was not a guarantee. It was a choice made continuously, and he chose her now as he had from the moment he found her. They began the ritual as the twin moons rose overhead, casting shifting light through cracks in the walls. Lyra seated herself in the center of the glyphs, Eden kneeling beside her, connecting the visor to a network of salvaged nodes and crystalline conduits. Energy began to hum in the air, subtle vibrations that tugged at the nerves and whispered in thought rather than sound. Lyra's voice became a chant, low and melodic, as if calling the very particles around her into alignment. Eden felt the flow of her mind, a tide of memories, emotions, and raw perception that threatened to overwhelm him. He clenched his teeth, holding on to his humanity while letting himself be drawn into her consciousness. Through the visor and the conduit nodes, their neural pathways intertwined. He experienced flashes of her past childhood in isolation, the loss of her family, years of hiding and surviving, the constant fear of abandonment. Pain, anger, and resilience coursed through him like an electric storm. And she, in turn, felt the unyielding determination of a human mind that refused to yield to impossible odds. The connection deepened, a psychic bond forming that transcended species, experience, and expectation. They shared not only thought but perception, feeling, and instinct. Every pulse of energy synchronized their movements. Every flicker of consciousness tethered them closer. Hours passed as they navigated the ritual together. Lyra's powers surged, extending her perception into the sanctuary itself. She could feel the faint echoes of IRA long gone, the latent energy of the ancient psychic nodes, and even the distant motion of the Shadow Vanguard as they scouted the perimeter above. Eden adjusted the nodes, balancing energy flows, compensating for fluctuations, learning to harmonize with her mind rather than imposing his own will. It was a dance of intellect and instinct, of human engineering and alien perception. Finally, the ritual reached its peak. Lyra's aura flared, her bioluminescent lines blazing bright against the shadows. She opened her eyes, and though they were still physically blind, she could perceive the sanctuary, Eden, and even the canyon outside in ways no ordinary vision could convey. She reached out, touching Eden's hand, and for the first time, their minds met fully, unguarded. Words became unnecessary. He understood her gratitude, her trust, her burgeoning affection, and she understood his unwavering commitment to protect her. In that single connection, the foundation of something far greater than survival was laid. A partnership that was both tactical and profoundly intimate. But even in the sanctuary, danger was never far. The Shadow Vanguard, though temporarily repelled from the station, were relentless. Rin's voice, carried faintly through their encrypted communications, warned the others of anomalies in the canyon energy readings, movement, disruptions in expected patterns. Kale recalibrated targeting drones, Jorah rerouted surveillance feeds, Veth coordinated real-time scans, and Syra analyzed psychic fluctuations, all converging on the sanctuary's coordinates. Eden knew they had little time before the operatives would locate them. Using the sanctuary's architecture to their advantage, Eden and Lyra prepared defenses. Crystal conduits became traps, floors and glyphs triggered controlled energy pulses, and the network nodes allowed Lyra to sense incoming threats before they physically arrived. They would not outrun the Vanguard, but now they could manipulate the battlefield. Human ingenuity, combined with ARA psychic perception, had transformed the ruins into a fortress of mind and motion. As night deepened, Lyra sat beside Eden, visor humming softly, her aura dimmed but steady. "I've never felt safe," she whispered, her voice tremulous but not fearful. Eden placed a hand over hers, feeling the warmth, the life, the fragile strength that had survived centuries of neglect. "You are safe," he said, "and we're not just surviving anymore. We're preparing. Together, we'll face whatever comes next." In the silence of the sanctuary, broken only by the faint hum of the conduits and the distant howling wind, a profound understanding passed between them. They were no longer hunted children and a fugitive engineer. They were a unit, a bond that combined courage, perception, and ingenuity, ready to challenge an empire that had never anticipated such unity. The ritual had done more than stabilize Lyra's abilities. It had forged a psychic link, a shared awareness that would become their greatest weapon. And as they planned their next move, escaping the canyon, reaching allies, and confronting the Empire, they knew one truth. The Shadow Vanguard might be relentless, but so were they. Together, human and ARA, engineer and awakened, they would fight, survive, and perhaps, in the process, redefine what it meant to protect, to love, and to inspire hope across the galaxy. The distant lights of Valaris Prime, the capital of the Empire, glittered like shards of glass across the darkened void. Eden and Lyra approached the planet aboard a stolen shuttle, silent and invisible to most conventional detection systems. Lyra's perception extended beyond sight through the visor and her awakened abilities, allowing them to navigate orbital debris, patrol grids, and invisible laser tripwires. Every movement was deliberate, calculated, as though the universe itself was conspiring to push them off course. But Eden's mind thrived in improvisation, and Lyra's neural resonance predicted each obstacle before it could materialize. They were a seamless unit, a combination of human ingenuity and ARA psychic intuition, a fugitive duo capable of bending the battlefield to their will. Their target lay in the undercity of Valaris Prime, a sprawling labyrinth of rusted scaffolding, power conduits, and forgotten industrial sectors. This was the beating heart of the Empire's suppression apparatus, a place where innocent ARA and humans alike were cataloged, enslaved, or erased. Eden carried recording devices, salvaged tech, and encrypted transmitters. They needed to gather irrefutable evidence of the Empire's atrocities. Forced labor camps, psychic experimentation on ARA, and the silencing of entire communities deemed unworthy by Imperial doctrine. Lyra's enhanced awareness allowed them to slip past patrols, avoid automated sentries, and predict movement patterns with uncanny precision. As they infiltrated deeper, the Shadow Vanguard closed in, Rin, Kale, Jorah, Veth, and Syra had recalibrated their strategies, learning from previous encounters. Their approach was methodical, relentless, and deadly. Yet Eden and Lyra had evolved in parallel. The ritual had connected them, creating a psychic synergy that made them extraordinarily difficult to predict. Lyra reached out with her awareness, disrupting targeting algorithms in patrol drones, while Eden rerouted surveillance feeds, creating loops that made them appear elsewhere. Every step was choreographed chaos. In a cavernous substation, they found the first piece of proof, a containment chamber where young ARA had been experimented upon. Children no older than 10 sat restrained in neural feedback devices, their psychic energy being siphoned into Imperial machines. Lyra's chest tightened at the sight. "We can't let them suffer," she whispered, her voice trembling with anger and empathy. Eden nodded. "We record everything. Every name, every procedure. The galaxy must see." They set up cameras, encrypted transmitters, and data scramblers, broadcasting evidence to secure networks that even the Empire would struggle to block. Then the confrontation came. Admiral Valen appeared suddenly on a panoramic display in the substation control hub, his uniform immaculate, his expression cold and unreadable. "Eden Cross," he said, his voice amplified with authority and menace. "You trespass in Imperial space, endangering classified operations. Surrender now, and this situation can be contained." Behind him, live feeds of the Vanguard's progress flickered. Patrols closing in, drones scanning the corridors, and traps being deployed. Eden's mind raced. Lyra's aura pulsed in sync with his heartbeat, her perception alerting him to every hidden movement. They had no time for hesitation. Rin and Kale breached the entryway, weapons drawn, drones hovering overhead. Lyra extended her psychic resonance, sending waves of disruption through electronic systems, forcing targeting sequences to fail. Eden took advantage, deploying magnetic charges along the metal girders and conduits. Sparks flew as circuits overloaded, drones fell from the air, and patrols were forced to retreat momentarily. The Vanguard regrouped, but the duo's strategy had bought them precious minutes. In the chaos, Lyra and Eden moved with perfect coordination. She guided him through hidden passages, bypassing security systems, while he neutralized electronic locks and deployed diversions. The substation became a battlefield of wits, perception, and improvisation rather than brute force. The psychic link forged in the sanctuary allowed them to anticipate each other's movements before thought could form, a synchrony that even the Shadow Vanguard struggled to counter. Valen, observing remotely, narrowed his eyes. "Do you truly believe a single human and an untrained ARA can undermine the Empire?" His contempt was palpable, but he underestimated one crucial factor: unity. While the Empire relied on hierarchy, fear, and brute strength, Eden and Lyra operated as a cohesive unit, bound by trust and shared purpose. Each improvised tactic, each psychic disruption, each recorded atrocity fed into a growing strategy not of escape, but of rebellion. By the time the confrontation reached its climax in the control hub's main chamber, the evidence was already being transmitted to multiple independent networks across the Empire. Citizens, colonies, and neutral factions began receiving proof of atrocities that had been hidden for centuries. Valen's authority faltered, his control slipping as the Vanguard struggled to regain order. Eden seized the opportunity, leading Lyra through a network of concealed passages, emerging onto a rooftop that overlooked the neon-lit spires of Valorous Prime. The city sprawled beneath them, a maze of power, oppression, and opportunity. Lyra took a deep breath, her perception reaching across the city, sensing the unrest that their broadcast had sparked. "They're seeing. They're watching. They know," she said, awe and determination mingling in her voice. Eden nodded, placing a reassuring hand over hers. "And now they will act. Change starts with exposure, with courage. And we're only the beginning." The twin moons rose high, bathing them in cold silver light. Below, the shadow vanguard regrouped, but the seeds of doubt and resistance had already been sown. For the first time, Eden realized that victory did not require destroying the Empire entirely. It required showing the galaxy that fear could be overcome, that unity and courage could spark change, and that even a human and a blind array could tip the balance of power. As they prepared to descend into the city's depths for the next stage of their mission, a quiet intimacy passed between them. They were still fugitives, still hunted, still facing unimaginable danger. Yet the bond forged in survival, ritual, and shared purpose had created something unbreakable. Lyra's hand brushed against Eden's, and for a fleeting moment, the enormity of their task faded. All that remained was trust, unity, and the understanding that together they could defy not just the Shadow Vanguard, but the very Empire itself. The Undercity waited. The Empire had not fallen, and the Shadow Vanguard had not been defeated. But Eden and Lyra had proven one undeniable truth. Ingenuity, courage, and unity were weapons far stronger than fear. And as the neon glow reflected in Lyra's visor, she whispered, "We're ready for them." Eden's smile was grim but unwavering. Then let them come. The subterranean corridors beneath Valorous Prime were a labyrinth of rusted conduits, abandoned industrial machinery, and flickering neon lights. Eden and Lyra had led a group of hidden Aerie children, survivors, and refugees into the deepest sections, a network of tunnels long forgotten by the Empire. Every step was tense, every shadow a potential threat. Above them, the Shadow Vanguard recalibrated, relentless as ever, determined to reclaim their quarry. But Eden and Lyra were no longer isolated fugitives. They were leaders now, guiding a fragile network of lives depending entirely on their ingenuity, courage, and perception. The assault began just before the cycle of the twin moons shifted. Explosions echoed through the tunnels as Rin, Kale, Jorah, Veth, and Syra deployed in coordinated strikes. Drones hummed and swirled, scanning for psychic disturbances, while elite operatives advanced silently through narrow shafts. Eden ducked behind a support beam, whispering instructions to the children and Lyra. "Stay low. Trust the shadows. Trust her." Lyra's visor pulsed as she extended her awareness, mapping every movement, every pulse, every breath of the attackers. Children were small, fragile, and terrified, but guided by Lyra's psychic perception, they moved with a surprising precision, slipping through corridors like water through rock. Eden improvised traps with anything he could salvage: magnetic pulses on floors, improvised electrical circuits along exposed conduits, even collapsing scaffolding timed to crush drones mid-flight. Lyra synchronized with him, sending pulses of psychic energy that disoriented the Vanguard's targeting systems. Sparks flew, alarms blared, and in the chaos, the children escaped further into the tunnels, their path guided by the visor's feedback and Lyra's awareness. The battle intensified as Rin advanced, striking at Eden with a lethal precision that tested every ounce of human instinct. Eden dodged, countered with improvised weaponry, and used the environment as an ally. Lyra, standing slightly behind him, reached out psychically, amplifying his reflexes, subtly predicting each move of the elite operative. Their combined synergy was devastating. Each blow, each pulse was perfectly timed, a dance of mind and body. Amid the chaos, a small group of children became trapped behind a fallen conduit. Lyra's aura flared as she focused her psychic resonance, sensing not just their location, but the structural weaknesses of the metal surrounding them. She guided Eden's hands precisely as he rigged a controlled magnetic pulse to lift the debris. Sparks flew violently, but the metal shifted, freeing the trapped children. One of them, no older than 8, looked at Eden with wide eyes. "You saved us," the child whispered. Lyra's voice trembled with emotion as she added, "We're alive because of you both." As the battle raged, The Shadow Vanguard struggled to maintain order. Kale and Jorah attempted to flank Eden, but Lyra's psychic map allowed him to anticipate their movements, guiding the children and himself through hidden passages, outmaneuvering the elite operatives at every turn. Veth and Syra tried to recalibrate drones for maximum coverage, but every system they touched was disrupted by Lyra's pulses, by Eden's traps, by the improvised defenses they had created. Finally, the last operatives were forced to retreat, their coordinated strike failing against the ingenuity, resilience, and psychic synchronization of human and Aerie. Eden, Lyra, and the rescued children emerged into a massive cavern, once a storage facility, now a sanctuary. The walls glowed faintly with residual energy from ancient Aerie conduits. The children ran, laughing nervously, exploring the cavern that would be their temporary refuge. Eden knelt, exhausted, rubbing his arms, but his gaze was soft as he watched Lyra. Her aura still hummed, bioluminescent lines pulsing with residual psychic energy. They had won, but the victory was not only in survival. They had saved lives, restored hope, and forged the first threads of a found family. One child, clutching a small stuffed device salvaged from the tunnels, approached Lyra. "Are you our sister now?" Lyra hesitated, then smiled, placing a hand gently on the child's head. "Yes," she whispered. "We are family." Eden, standing beside her, felt a warmth unlike any he had known. For the first time in years, hope was tangible, a living, breathing thing that moved and smiled around him. Even as they celebrated, they knew the Empire would not forget. Valen would strike again, the Shadow Vanguard would return, but Eden and Lyra had proven something undeniable. Unity, courage, and ingenuity could overcome even the most relentless oppression. They began organizing, setting up safe zones, planning escape routes, and training the children to navigate the tunnels, to hide, to survive. Their sanctuary became more than refuge, it became a symbol. A symbol that humans and Aerie could work together, that courage and intellect could defy tyranny, and that love and trust could forge families beyond bloodlines. That night, as the twin moons hung high over the cavern, Eden and Lyra stood on a ledge overlooking the assembled children. Their hands brushed, a quiet acknowledgement of the bond forged through battle, survival, and psychic resonance. Lyra's voice was low, almost a whisper. "Do you think we'll ever see peace?" Eden looked at the distant shadows where the vanguard had retreated, then at the glowing, terrified, but resilient faces of the children. "Not yet," he said, "but we've created a beginning. And that's all that matters for now." The cavern hummed with life and quiet determination. The children, once abandoned and hunted, were safe. Eden and Lyra had transformed fear into hope, despair into strategy, and vulnerability into strength. For the first time, the twin fugitives felt something permanent, something greater than survival, the unshakable certainty that even in the darkest, Empire human courage and alien perception could light the way, creating not just safety, but family purpose and a future worth defending. The first light of Nera 7's twin moons filtered through the fractured ceiling of the sanctuary, painting the cavern in pale silver and violet hues. Eden stood beside Lyra, watching as the rescued children navigated their safe haven, laughing and exploring in cautious delight. The tunnels, once a prison, had become a cradle of hope, a place where ingenuity, courage, and compassion had turned despair into life. Every face reflected resilience, and in their eyes, Eden and Lyra saw not just survival, but the beginning of a new legacy. The Empire, though momentarily repelled, would not abandon its pursuit. Admiral Valen had retreated to reevaluate, and the Shadow Vanguard would regroup, more determined than ever. But Eden and Lyra had evolved beyond mere survival tactics. The sanctuary's ancient conduits, combined with Lyra's psychic resonance and Eden's improvisational genius, had created a living network of defense. Motion sensors, energy barriers, and psychic disruptions intertwined, forming an invisible shield that no conventional forces could penetrate without significant risk. The children, trained under the duo's careful guidance, moved through the labyrinth with confidence, using their instincts, augmented awareness, and protective measures to maintain safety. Eden knelt beside Lyra as she adjusted the visor, which now hummed softly across her temples. "We've done more than survive," he said, his voice a mix of exhaustion and pride. "We've built something the Empire cannot erase." Lyra's hand brushed against his, fingers lacing with his. "And we've become more than fugitives," she whispered, eyes glowing faintly with the lingering light of psychic energy. "We're a family, and a force they cannot ignore." The bond between them, forged in danger, ritual, and countless shared moments of life or death decisions, had solidified into something unbreakable, a unity that transcended human and ARA, instinct and intellect, survival and emotion. Above, in the ruins of Valorous Prime, small signals began to flicker across encrypted networks. Independent colonies, sympathetic factions, and even some within the Empire received undeniable proof of atrocities. Psychic experiments, enslavement of ARA, and systematic oppression. Eden had anticipated this, planning broadcasts and data leaks to ensure that the Empire's crimes could no longer be hidden. Resistance, small but growing, began to spark across multiple systems. Even the Shadow Vanguard, elite as they were, struggled against the tide of public awareness and psychic interference that Eden and Lyra had unleashed. As the day wore on, the sanctuary became a place of quiet restoration. Children were fed, wounds were tended, and the hum of psychic energy became a steady, reassuring rhythm. Lyra moved among them, teaching them to sense the environment, to perceive danger, and to trust their instincts. Eden worked on upgrading the visor and creating portable devices to aid other survivors. The sanctuary, once a refuge, was now a hub of preparation, training, and hope. Later, when the children had settled, Eden and Lyra retreated to a secluded ledge overlooking the cavern. The twin moon's reflection danced in the crystal conduits, casting ephemeral patterns on the walls. Lyra's hand found Eden's, their fingers intertwining. For the first time in months, they allowed themselves a moment of intimacy, not dictated by fear or survival. Words were unnecessary. The psychic link they shared communicated trust, love, and a promise of togetherness. Lyra's voice, soft and melodic, broke the silence. "Do you think we'll ever have peace?" Eden gazed at the distant glow of the city and the horizon beyond. "Peace may not exist as the Empire defines it," he said, "but we've created our own, here, together. And that's enough to start." The children, still under their care, were quietly forming bonds of their own. Some paired off to navigate the tunnels together, guided by Lyra's instruction. Others helped Eden with improvised devices, learning the delicate dance of engineering and psychic feedback that had saved them all. The found family was becoming real, not just a construct of necessity, but of shared trust, affection, and purpose. Eden and Lyra watched with quiet satisfaction, understanding that their efforts had created more than a sanctuary. They had cultivated hope, resilience, and unity. Even as the Empire's shadow lingered, their psychic bond allowed them to coordinate instantaneously, preparing contingencies, predicting threats, and maintaining the safety of everyone under their protection. The connection between human ingenuity and ARA perception had become a symbol, proof that disparate beings, when united by trust and purpose, could challenge even the most formidable adversaries. That night, as the moons reached their zenith, Lyra leaned against Eden, her aura pulsing faintly, resonating with his own. "No matter what comes, we'll face it," she whispered. Together, Eden pressed a gentle kiss to her forehead, feeling the weight and promise of their journey. "Together," he echoed. The sanctuary hummed around them, alive with energy, hope, and the quiet laughter of children who had once known only fear. Beyond the tunnels, signals from allied factions began to arrive. Communications, Coordinated strikes and intelligence were flowing through the network Eden had established, connecting survivors, rebels, and sympathetic forces across multiple systems. The Empire would respond, but Eden and Lyra had already shifted the balance. They were no longer simply hunted. They were leaders, protectors, and symbols of defiance and unity. As dawn approached on Near 7, the cavern glowed faintly with residual psychic energy. The twin moons sank behind the horizon, leaving a soft golden light that reflected the first tangible sense of hope. Eden and Lyra stood hand in hand, watching the children play, knowing that they had forged a family and a legacy. They had faced relentless hunters, deadly operatives, and the weight of an empire, and survived. Lyra's eyes glowed faintly, but her perception reached beyond the cavern, sensing not only danger, but potential allies, signals of hope in the shifting tide of rebellion. Eden's hand tightened around hers. "This is just the beginning," he said. "But no matter what the universe throws at us, we'll face it. As a family, as a team, as you?" Lyra smiled, the bond between them palpable, a promise that transcended fear and distance. Together, they had created something imperishable: love, trust, and hope that would shine across the galaxy. In the quiet of the sanctuary, with the twin moons setting and the first hints of Near 7's sun warming the crystal conduits, Eden and Lyra stood united, their bond a symbol for the lives they had saved, the family they had created, and the hope they carried for the galaxy. They had faced the Empire, defied the Shadow Vanguard, and found not only survival, but purpose, love, and the promise of a future. The story of a human engineer and a blind Ere girl, once fugitives, now leaders, was only beginning, but the foundations had been laid, unshakable and eternal. Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this story, don't forget to like, subscribe, and share with your friends. All characters, names, and events are fictional, created purely for entertainment purposes. Any resemblance to real people or events is coincidental. Stay tuned for the next chapter of this thrilling journey.